besties, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So, we have got to discuss something that is resurfacing and doing its rounds online, and I think it's super interesting. It involves leaked conversations between James Charles and Jeffree Star, and kind of is so topical with what we're seeing about James Charles. And a lot of people are using this as a way of defending Jeffree, saying we were too hard on Jeffree, Jeffree was trying to tell us the truth, and people are really using this to vindicate, is that the right word? Jeffree Star in the full argument of Dramageddon, and Jeffree was right all along, and we were too hard on him, which we're gonna get to that, but that is complete BS. But before we get into it, please make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel. That means you automatically become a bestie, and below linked will be my second channel. Please go and subscribe. There are so many videos over there too, but let's just get straight onto the video. So this has to do with leaked conversations about Jeffree talking about James Charles being a P word. Now, if you don't know what that is, because I saw a lot of comments, people being like, oh, what's the P word? That could mean many different things. I do acknowledge that. P word is a P-redditor. So that's what that is. And so it's important to note that Jeffree Star only had an issue with James Charles being an alleged P word whenever he could use it to dethrone James Charles in terms of YouTube subscribers and become like the #1 male beauty guru or something like that. So again, that is a big reason on why we shouldn't just like vindicate, I don't know if I'm using that right, Jeffree Star. As you know, oh my god, he was trying to tell us the truth. No, he was selfish in this too, and he only had a problem with James Charles whenever he knew that his problem with James Charles could be successful for him. So with that being said, we are just going to go through these screenshots that it was actually James Charles that provided us with these in the No More Lies YouTube video. So do you remember he did this where he put on screen a bunch of text from Jeffree Star? So now people are looking at them again and they're making a lot more sense with the context of what we have nowadays with, all of these underage boys coming forward against James Charles. And these texts in any context are disturbing, and especially in the context that we have now are even more disturbing. So with that being said, again, let's just get straight into it, besties. So the first one says, do you want to come up, Bonnie? Do you want to come on up? Come on, before we start the video. Good girl. Oh, come say hi to the besties. You can sit there. So here we have these first ones. So this was Jeffree Star texting one of James Charles' friends. It says, how do you sleep at night knowing that you are enabling and supporting a P word and a P word? The second P word is Peterphile. It's a Peterphile. That's what that word is. Okay. Hopefully you seek help very soon and get away from that monster. When he trapped that boy in his hotel room in Seattle and you didn't care about it, I knew you didn't have a soul either. So this was what Jeffree had texted one of James' best friends. So he was making it very clear. This was before, James did his videos, so it was before James was in good public standing, and it was just right after the Bye Sister video with Tati Westbrook. So again, Jeffree Star was just jumping on the hype of after Tati's video. Tati was gaining all this success, gaining millions of subscribers, so much support, mainstream support. Jeffree was getting brought into it by himself. He was involving himself in Twitter, tweeting threats to James Charles' younger brother online, tweeting that James Charles was a danger. He was banned from his house. There was a lot going on during this time, and Jeffree really waited until Tati's video to really start texting all of these things to not only James, but James Charles' friends. So why are we looking at these texts and being like, oh, he was so ahead of his time, whenever, no, he was literally an opportunist in these texts, because he knew that if he fed into it even more, it would, I'm sorry, Bonnie is going crazy because she knows that Tyler is on the sofa right now. So that means that she is going to go down. This is called being a parent. So he is, y'all are doing too much. Y'all are doing the most. So Tyler's probably gonna hiss at her any second, like that. So, Jeffree was an opportunist. Stop being like, he was warning us from the start, he was right about James. No, James is an awful person, and the things that were said about him are continuing to be said about him, but that does not at all mean that Jeffree Star had good intentions or was looking out for victims in this. No, he was looking out for himself, and he knew that he could dethrone James Charles, which he did momentarily, but then was overtaken again. So again, that was a tweet that he sent to his friends. So one last time, how do you sleep at night knowing that you enable and support a P word and another P word? Hopefully you seek help very soon and get away from that monster. When he trapped that boy in his hotel room in Seattle and you didn't care about it, I knew you didn't have a soul either. So that was the first text, and then the second one was from Jeffree to James Charles, and we're going to read this one because this one's interesting as well. Are you going to respond to anything or pull a Manny 2.0? So I believe in that Jeffree was kind of pressuring James to release a statement soon because he knew that if James had a lot of pressure on him, he would have released a really bad one, which was that video of James in the hotel room crying. So I think Jeffree knew what he was doing here. And him saying a Manny 2.0 is so weird because that's referencing Manny MUA having to do apology videos and getting cancelled over Jeffree Star saying that Manny MUA is a bad friend. That was literally what he was cancelled for. A lot to think about. When you basically trapped Sam in your hotel room in Seattle and psychologically forced him to stay and made him feel horrible for the pennies you spent on that room, I knew something was terribly wrong with you. Now, looking at that section, we have a clip that's been resurfacing of James Charles saying that, you know, he gets really annoyed whenever he tries to flirt with guys and they say that they can't afford to come out, whether that's a flight or stay in a hotel room. And James was like, well, I can, sister, I can book you in a hotel room and I can book you a flight. So he's like, it's so annoying, I can afford it, you have to come out too. So him saying that, you know, he can afford things like on camera, he literally said this on like the Logan Paul podcast. I mean, it kind of adds up to what Jeffree's saying about here, that he was making this guy Sam feel bad for the fact that he paid for the trip. I'm not saying this is true, but all I'm saying is with what James has said and what Jeffree's saying, if you put them together, there seems to be a little bit of a similar narrative. But I'm still not on Jeffree's side, or James's. When Zach showed me the Snapchat, which is Nate's brother, haha, that didn't age well, right? Nate, Jeffree. When Zach showed me the Snapchat messages of you trying to force him to like you and send him photos, so Snapchat messages trying to get, you know, an alleged straight guy to allegedly send you photos. Where have we seen that narrative with James Charles? Oh yes, every single day, recently. So, I mean, again, is there some truth to that? Don't know. It was completely horrifying to see you use the same sentences as an R word, what they would use. He was so grossed out by your behavior and the way that you tried to make him feel for not reciprocating the same feelings, ... Now again, speaking of the monster, I do agree with Jeffree whenever this person is a monster, I mean, the texts are not looking good because we have the Snapchat, we have the paying for things and then using that as like bait and over people's heads. There seems to be allegedly some truth here with Jeffree's texts, which goes to show back in 2019, and James used these to defend himself. Now again, I'm not saying there is, and because Jeffree waited to use all of this information, again, it makes it seem less like, ugh. But we'll go on. There is one final one. So this is the final text from Jeffree that was kind of the wildest one. It says, Grayson, as in Grayson Dolan, is going to go on camera shortly to finally tell the world how you tried to do stuff to him and other stuff in his sleep. ... Which has then spiraled all of these conspiracy theories about why the Sister Squad fell out. The Sister Squad, Emma Chamberlain, the Dolan twins, and James Charles. Did that fall out because of what Jeffree's insinuating here? And since then, the Dolan twins have obviously not spoken up about this. But Jeffree really threw them under the bus. But so did James by putting this text out there. I don't know who was trying to be in the right there. I don't know. Grayson is going to go on camera shortly to tell the world how you did stuff to him in his sleep and made him uncomfortable for months, you sick mother effer. I don't know why I'm censoring myself, I just feel like it. Next, Zach, so Nate's brother, who was Jeffree's boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, will be going on camera to tell how twisted and sick you were, trying to get him to like you, which again is something we've seen James do with young minor fans, trying to get him to like you and then make him feel bad when he didn't want to send you photos back, which again, if the screenshots we're seeing from these children is true, James has been having that same aggressive approach towards them whenever they didn't want to send photos, or he wasn't happy enough with them, or he thought they were being shady, you know, the actual children, allegedly. whenever he didn't want to send you photos back. Then Sam from Seattle will be joining me and Cameron to talk about you trapping him in the hotel room. Another big statement. You need to be locked in prison for a very long time. You need the internet to be taken away from you. You are a danger to society. Now, the thing that I do want to bring up is that last statement from Jeffree, that you need to be locked up in prison for a long time. I would like to see it. But I would also like to see that for Jeffree Star, because Jeffree Star has been accused of the exact, if not similar, things. But I mean, in terms of James, I fully think that's valid. You need the internet to be taken away from you, 100% agree. What are we saying? Deplatformed, or at least some sort of punishment so that he can learn his lesson and not be putting underage fans in danger's way. You are a danger to society. I think I would agree with Jeffree Star in that statement about James Charles. I want to know what you're thinking. Still though, let's stop saying that Jeffree was this all God almighty person for, doing these texts and he was so ahead of his time and all this. No, he wasn't. He literally only did that whenever the narrative was so strong against James that you remember back in 2019, it seemed like James was not going to recover personally or professionally from that. So Jeffree jumped on it and then he retracted everything. It's like, and on top of that, Jeffree has been using this alleged voicemail of an alleged victim of James Charles as blackmail now for literally years, in which he's been showing it to Blair White and showing it to all these different people. I know Blair White said that she heard it, so I'm not going to say anyone else's names that I don't want to assume. But Blair said that she heard it. So Jeffree's been using all these things with James as blackmail for the longest time. So his intentions are not good. So let's stop acting like he's the better person or the good person in this situation. Some parts of his text lead to a bigger narrative in terms of the Snapchat and the, paying for things and using that power dynamic. Definitely. But because his intentions and the fact that Jeffree has been accused of these things as well, it makes him so not credible. Looking at the text nowadays though, it presents a completely different narrative than James Charles going out of his way to show us these texts as a way of defending himself and showing that Jeffree was, so disgusting towards him. There's much to talk about and think about whenever it comes to that. And Bestie, I want to know, oh my god, I didn't know, are you lit on the radiator? I mean, it's on a little bit, so I get that, it's probably comfortable. I want to know what you're thinking about this. I've seen that people were very split online about this. Some people defending Jeffree, some people, just saying that his intentions aren't good, so why should we really be praising him for this? And especially if he's still been using things as blackmail allegedly and, was holding on to all this information until he knew that he could dethrone James Charles. There's so much back and forth in this, and I want to know where you're at with it. Let me know in the comments, even if you want to write a paragraph or whatever, or maybe a couple sentences. We'll talk about it. Yeah, there's a big conversation to be had about this. I love you. I will see you in my next one. Stay safe, stay happy, and yeah. Interesting. This is leaked text from James about Jeffree that now make James look even worse. Interesting how the narratives change on YouTube, isn't it? Damn, Jesus. I'll see you. Bye.